Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be talking about LSTMs and I'll try to cover the majority of topics in a short amount of time. We'll be discussing the architecture, the drawbacks, the additional features, and we'll also compare it to the GRUs. So let's go. And before we dive into LSTM, let's understand a little bit about RNNs. LSTM networks are an extension of RNNs, mainly introduced to handle situations where RNN fails. Talking about RNNs, it is a network that works on the present input by taking into consideration the previous input and storing it in its memory for a short period of time. Out of this various applications, the most popular ones are in the field of speech processing, non-Markovian control, and music compositions. However, they have got their own drawbacks. Talking about the drawbacks, first of all, it fails to store information for a longer period of time. At times, a reference to certain information stored quite a long time ago is required to predict the current output, but RNNs are absolutely incapable of handling such long-term dependencies. Secondly, there is no finer control over which part of the context needs to be carried forward and how much of the past needs to be forgotten. And thirdly, other issues with RNN are exploding and vanishing gradients, which I'll be explaining later, which occur during the training process of a network. And hence, long short-term memory, which is also called LSTM, was introduced. It has been so designed that the vanishing gradient problem is almost completely removed, not totally but completely, while the training model is left unaltered. Long time in lags in certain problems are bridged using LSTMs where they also handle noise, distributed representations, and continued values. With LSTMs, there is no need to keep a finite number of states from beforehand as required in the hidden Markov model. LSTM provide us with a large range of parameters such as learning rates, input, and biases. Hence, no need for a finer adjustment. The complexity to update each weight is reduced to big complexity 1 with LSTMs, which is similar to that of back propagation through time, which is also called BPTT. It is also an advantage. So, what is exploding and vanishing gradients? We have talked so much about it, like LSTM covers this problem. So, what is exploding and vanishing gradients? So, during the training process of network, the main goal is to minimize loss in terms of error or cost, and it is observed in the output when training data is sent through it. We calculate the gradient, that is loss, with respect to a particular set of weights, adjust the weight accordingly, and repeat this process until we get an optimal set of weights for which loss is minimum. This is the concept of backtracking. Sometimes it so happens that gradient is almost negligible. It must be noted that gradient of a layer depends on certain components in successive layers. In some of these components are very small, I mean less than 1. The result obtained, which is gradient, will be even smaller. This is known as the scaling effect. When this gradient is multiplied with the learning rate, which itself is very small value ranging between 0.1 to 0.001, it results in a smaller value. As a consequence, the alteration in weights is quite small, producing almost same outputs as before. Similarly, in the gradients that are quite large due to the large values of components, the weights get updated to a value beyond optimal value. This is known as the problem of exploding gradients. To avoid this scaling effect, the neural network unit was rebuilt in such a way that scaling factor was fixed. The cell then was enriched by several gating units called the LSTM. Now let's understand a little bit about the architecture. But before we dive in and I explain the architecture to you, let's understand the basic difference between the architectures of RNNs and LSTMs. The main difference between an RNN and LSTM is that LSTM has a hidden layer, which is also called the gated unit or gated cell. It consists of 4 layers that interact with one another in a way to produce the output of the cell along with the cell state. These two things are then passed on to the next hidden layer. Unlike RNNs, which have only single neural network layer of TANH, LSTM comprises of 3 logistic sigmoid gates and 1 TANH layer. Gates have been introduced in order to limit the information that is passed through the cell. They determine which part of the information will be needed by the next cell and which part is to be discarded. The output is usually in the range of 0 to 1, where 0 means reject all and 1 means include all. So now let's dive into the architecture. First of all, each LSTM cell has 3 inputs: HT-1, CT-1 and XT. Let me mark this for you. HT-1, CT-1 and XT. Okay. For a given time t, HT is the hidden state. HT, this is the hidden state. CT is the cell state or memory state. Memory state. And XT is the current data point or input. XT here. Current data point. The first sigmoid layer has 2 inputs, which is HT-1 and XT, where HT-1 is the hidden state of the previous cell. This is the hidden state of the previous cell. It is known as the forget gate, and its output selects the amount of information of the previous cell to be included. The output is a number in 0 to 1, which is multiplied pointwise with the previous cell state CT-1. So when we talk about a conventional LSTM model, this is how a conventional LSTM model looks like. The second sigmoid layer is the input gate that decides what new information is to be added to the cell. It takes 2 inputs, HT-1 and XT. Okay, and the tan edge layer creates a vector CT of the new candidate values. Together, these 2 layers determine the information to be stored inside the cell state. Their pointwise multiplication tells us the amount of information to be added to the cell state. The result is then added with the result of forget gate multiplied with the previous cell state, which is FT into CT-1, to produce the current cell of state CT. Next, the output of the cell is calculated using a sigmoid and tan edge layer, and the sigmoid layer decides which part of the cell state will be present in the output, whereas tan edge layer shifts the output in the range of -1 to 1. The results of these 2 layers undergo pointwise multiplication to produce the output HT of the cell. So, with the rise of the popularity in LSTMs, various models of LSTMs have been made up by people, and there are various alterations that have been tried on the conventional LSTM architecture to simplify the internal design of cells, to make them work in a more efficient way and to reduce the computational complexity. Gers and Simduber introduced peephole connections, which allowed gate layers to have full knowledge about the cell state at every instant. Some LSTMs also made use of a coupled input and forget state instead of 2 separate gates that helped in making both decisions simultaneously. Another variation was the use of gated recurrent neural net, which is GRU, which improved the design complexity by reducing the number of gates. It uses combination of the cell state and hidden state, and also an update gate which has forgotten and input gates merged into it. So the figure A right here, this is a normal LSTM network. It represents what a basic LSTM network looks like, and only one LSTM layer between input and output layer has been shown here. Figure B here represents a deep LSTM, which is also called DLSTM. What it does is it includes a number of LSTM layers in between the input and output. The advantage is that the input values fed to the network not only go through several LSTM layers, but also propagate through time within one LSTM cell. Hence, parameters are well distributed within multiple layers, and this results in a thorough process of inputs in each time step. Figure C here represents LSTM with the recurrent projection layer. It is also called LSTMP. What it does is it represents LSTM with recurrent projection layer, where the recurrent connections are taken from projection layer to LSTM layer input. This architecture was designed to reduce the high learning computational complexity, that was ON. The complexity was ON, and for each time step of the standard LSTM RNN, and it was reduced around O1. The third LSTM model which you are seeing right here, it represents deep LSTM, okay, deep LSTM, DLSTMP, okay, DLSTMP. So this represents deep LSTM with a recurrent projection layer consisting of multiple LSTM layers, where each layer has its own projection layer. The increased depth is quite useful in the case where the memory size is too large. Having increased depth prevents overfitting in models, as the inputs to the network need to go through many non-linear functions. So now let's compare GRUs versus LSTMs. So in spite of being quite similar to LSTMs, GRUs have never been so popular. But what are GRUs? GRU stands for gated recurrent units, as I've already told you before, and as the name suggests, these recurrent units proposed by Cho are also provided with a gated mechanism to effectively and adaptively capture dependencies of different time scales. They have an update gate and a reset gate. The former is responsible for selecting what piece of knowledge is to be carried forward, whereas the latter lies in between two successive recurrent units and decides how much information needs to be forgotten. Talking about the applications of LSTM, language modeling or text generation that involves the computation of words when a sequence of word is fed as an input, language models can be operated at the character level, that is n-gram level, sentence, or even a paragraph level. We can also use it for speech and handwriting recognition, and we can also use it for stock price prediction, upon which my project was based, and we can also use it for language translation, as it involves mapping a sequence in one language to sequence in another language, similar to image processing. Now in the end, let's discuss about the drawbacks of LSTM. LSTMs became popular because they could solve the problem of vanishing gradients, as we discussed before, but it turns out that they failed to remove it completely. The problem lies in the fact that data still has to move from cell to cell for its evaluation. Moreover, the cell has become quite complex now, with the additional features such as forget gates being brought into the picture. Secondly, they require a lot of resources and time to get trained and become ready for real world applications. In technical terms, they need high memory bandwidth because of linear layers present in each cell, which the system usually fails to provide for. Thus, hardware-wise, LSTMs become quite inefficient. Third point, with the rise of data mining, developers are looking for a model that can remember past information for a longer time than LSTMs. The source of this inspiration for such kind of model is the human habit of dividing a given piece of information into smaller parts for easy remembrance. Fourth point, LSTMs get affected by different random weight initializations and hence behave quite similar to that of feed-forward neural network. They prefer small weight initializations instead. And fifth point is, they are prone to overfitting and it is difficult to apply the dropout algorithm to curb this issue. Dropout is a regularization method where input and recurrent connections to LSTM units are probabilistically excluded from activations and weight updates while training the network. So I hope you have understand the drawbacks, and that will mark the end of our video. Thank you.